Hello, you guys. Welcome to math. So we are going to start multiplying fractions today. And so we're going to talk about the standard algorithm for how to multiply fractions. And we're going to put a reference page in our notebook for how to do that. So we're going to go to interactive notebook pages. And this first page that we see here that just shows kind of what the final pages look like, that's going to be garbage. Okay, it kind of was directions in case you missed the video and you could kind of look at those. So we're going to take that page and we're going to get rid of it. This page is the one we want, but we're only going to use part of this today. We want the multiplying part, and we're going to leave the dividing part in here. So I want you to carefully cut out the multiplying. So I'm going to go up the middle, and I'm going to go across. And you'll notice I'm going to leave that stapled in, and I'm going to leave division in there. So that is all we need out of this packet today. And here, this little sheet, little half sheet on multiplying is what we're going to put in our notebook. So if we go flip over, so we're going to glue this right here in our notebook and talk about how we multiply fractions. So last year in 5th grade, I know you guys added and subtracted fractions, and you may have even done a little bit of multiplying that year too. But this year, we kind of focus on multiplying and dividing. And to be honest, multiplying and dividing fractions is actually a lot easier than adding and subtracting. Adding and subtracting, you had to have common denominators, and that's always a little bit tricky. But with multiplying and dividing, we don't. And so to the process, I think most kids will agree with me that it's a little bit simpler than the addition and subtraction. So let's take a look at our interactive here. So when we are talking about multiplying, we need to think about what our numbers are that we're multiplying. So we can multiply a fraction by a fraction by a whole number, and then we can also multiply two mixed numbers. And we're going to do an example of each of those, okay? So a fraction by a fraction is a problem that might look like this. So let's say we had 2/3 times 4/5, okay? So this is a normal fraction times a normal fraction, okay? All we do is we multiply the numerators. Numerators are the top numbers, and then we multiply the denominators. And then the last step is always to kind of simplify our answer. It's nice if you can give your final answer in its most simplified version. So let's try that with this example. So multiply the top numbers. 2 times 4 is 8. And then we multiply the denominators, the bottoms. 3 times 5 is 15. And so 2/3 times 4/5 equals 8/15. Now, we could simplify that if it was possible. So if you start to think about how 8 and 15, if there's anything you could divide by, there really isn't. And you can even test this out on your calculator, the way I showed you how yesterday to simplify on your calculator. And 8/15 is already a simplified fraction. It does not get any simpler than that. So 8/15 is our answer. Do you see how simple that is? We multiply the tops, we multiply the bottoms, and boom, we have our answer. Okay? Let's go ahead and look at what happens when we have a fraction times a whole number. So let's say we were going to do, let's do 3/5 times, and we need a whole number. Let's say we were going to multiply it times 4. Okay? So the first thing we do is we write a 1 under the whole number. We want this whole number to look like a fraction. So we put a 1 under it. Now that's an improper fraction, but it still is a fraction that represents 4. And now that we have two things that look like normal fractions, we just multiply straight across, just like we did up at the top. 3 times 4 is 12. 5 times 1 is 5. And so 12/5 is our answer. Okay? So the last step then is going to be the same as up here. Simplify and or convert it into a mixed number. So you'll probably notice that this answer is improper. And so 12/5, we've got that bigger number on the top. It's an improper fraction. If we can change that to a proper mixed number, then that is going to be looking a little bit more the way I'd like it to look. So let's go ahead and change that. So if you remember how we do this, we think division. 5 goes into 12 2 whole times, because 5 times 2 is 10, and then we would have 2 left over. So that becomes 12 and 2/5. Okay, and if you remember, again, your scientific calculator can help you change that improper fraction to a mixed number if you wanted to. Okay, if you need help with that. Last thing is, what do we do when we're multiplying two mixed numbers? So a mixed number, like we set up here, let's say we had 1 1/3 times 3 2/5. Let's say that was our multiplication problem. So when we have two mixed numbers, the first thing we have to do is change them both to improper fractions. Okay? We can't just multiply straight across when we have these mixed numbers. There's too many parts. So we have to change this to improper fractions. That is the key. So the way we do that, think about that circle kind of method. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. So that is 4/3 times 5 times 3 is 15, plus 2 is 17/5. And because the denominator stays the same. Okay? So again, we changed them to improper fractions. Now that we have two things that are improper fractions, they look like fractions, and we just multiply straight across. Sometimes with these, because the numbers get pretty big on top, we're going to end up with some numbers that also get big in our answer. So for example, 4 times 17. We could pull out our calculator, but I'm just going to do it over here. 4 times 7 is 28. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 2 more is 6. So we get 68. Make sure that's right. Yep. And then 3 times 5 is 15. So again, our answer is improper. We have the bigger number on top. So if I work this problem, I know 15 goes into 68 4 times. One math fact I know is that 15 times 4 is 60. So that means I have 8 left over. So 4 8/15. And the last step is just as usual, simplify and or convert into a mixed number. So you can see that pretty much the big idea for all three of these is to get your fractions to look like a fraction. And it's fine if they're improper, but you can't start with mixed numbers. You have to get them to be so that they look like a fraction. And then you just multiply across. You multiply the numerators, you multiply the denominators, and then with whatever your answer is, you want to try to simplify it and turn it back into a mixed number or proper fraction. So that's how we multiply fractions. We're going to practice this some more today and maybe even tomorrow. So what I'm going to have you do, because we are actually skipping some of the some of the pages in our journal, your practice today is going to be in your home links and lesson pages packet. Okay, so we're not doing journal work right now. We're going to do some journal work together at 9, but what I want you to practice right now by yourself is in this home link and lesson pages. And so you're going to turn over to, this is going to seem like really far in here, but we're going to turn over here to lesson 2-5. Okay, and this is, doesn't have a page number on the bottom of it, so you'll have to just look carefully. And so it's lesson 2-5, fraction multiplication practice. And what I want you to do is not any of this at the top, but what I'm looking for is this bottom section right here. And so you have 6 multiplication problems. Some of them are fraction times fraction, some of them have a whole number, and some of them have mixed numbers. And so I'd like you to try these 6 problems before I see you again at 9 o'clock. Okay? And if you need your calculator to help you with the simplifying or with some of the multiplication facts, it's fine. Go ahead and do that. I do want you to give this a shot, though. All right. Thank you.